Let me explain the title below. A sure and the quickest way to kill love is to have expectations. Expecting something before giving of yourself, while the fastest way to restore it is to find inspiration, giving of yourself before receiving. See, when we speak about love, love is something we can give when we learn that it has nothing to do with our accomplishments, what others think of us, our financial status, popularity, and so on. It is simply in our own ability to be happy and feel joy, to find inspiration in life independent from others or some possession factors, even when it seems like you are crawling through the dumps of life. And I bet for those who have traveled quite a bit can see that often the happiest people live somewhere in the middle of nowhere. No fancy positions, yet they are people with values, people with aspirations, beliefs, and the most important thing, hope. As love is something that belongs to those who are aware simply of the value of their own essence, and so look for the resources within them to create their joy and meaning in life. Their happiness is not something attached to whether Frank thinks they're beautiful or Becky dum dum or if they got a job promotion. Their happiness only belongs to their own creative abilities, regardless of whether someone validates what they are making, how they look, and etc. While having expectations means your own abilities and happiness is dependent on the actions, on the behaviors and opinions, but also choices of others. And this brings one a lot of internal void or feelings of sadness, because with every expectations you keep on others, you lose a piece of trust in yourself. And when you do not believe in yourself, most of the time, even unconsciously, you seek to control the environment around you for some sense of security, for some sense of guarantee, for something that you can trust and that can bring you joy. So in short, expectations belong to those who want to be in control and lack faith and trust in life, in others, and most importantly, in themselves. And sometimes this control is expressed through withholding information, creating confusion, or overly demanding rather than being open and honest and clear and transparent, even regarding your own boundaries. As unspoken boundaries turn into silent expectations. And this all stems down from your own unawareness of what you are truly capable of as a creator, deep down living in the core of every single human being. A creator here to identify with one single role, what you are here to create and to inspire. It's a deep thought, yet the key to joy. Because if we say the universe and life is abundant, and we believe that we come from that place of abundance, then we approach any interaction from that place, from that perspective and abundant mindset. We won't just sit around and wait for physical proof from the other to believe what is truly possible. So it's much easier to hold on to an expectation rather than move your butt and actually fulfill and meet your own unmet needs or your own expectations, and in return be an inspiration for others to want to live up to it, to join you in your vision, to join you in your efforts, and to actually support you. And of course, in this process of working towards meeting your own expectations, you begin forming your own identity. You begin seeing in practical reality what you are truly capable of and what you might not be so good at. You begin discovering new, unexplored territories of yourself. And what stops us having the courage to commit to our own self-discovery, and instead we just sit back and wait for confirmation. And while we wait for a guarantee, we wait for the approval and validation, And then we just wonder, where is the joy in life? And definitely it is not in sleeping through it. To give you some examples, let's say I identify myself as someone who has an inspiring effect on others through my visions. Visions and insights that help me see the full spectrum of abilities, those that are not even aware of the person themselves. I can see the beauty hiding behind the insecurities, the beauty behind the fears, the anxieties, the despair, all of those things that we label as something so bad and horrible. And I have always been great at envisioning the future, of seeing possibilities and instilling hope. Because I've always been driven by the belief that everything has a solution. It needs to have a solution, even if it's so difficult and doesn't make sense right now. And sometimes we're not going in the right direction, or we are simply in the wrong environment. And that's why we have these problems that are a part of our life experience. And so I'm confident to say that things don't always play out right away. But I can begin to tell you how many times people reappeared in my life after 1 year or two in disbelief. How could have I possibly nailed it or predicted certain experiences to happen in their life that they didn't even trust themselves? And I don't say this from a place of arrogance, but I do believe it is a gift that I have been given and I'm here to share, and a gift I'm here to serve others with. Let's say it's my contribution, because many times it is not about something being wrong with a person or that they need fixing, but it's difficult to navigate in the right direction when you don't know the why, when you don't have the full picture and vision of what is the meaning behind this and why it is happening and how does it play out in my purpose in life. And when you don't know the why, it is easy to get discouraged and outsource your happiness. So in return, you begin to form expectations that you can only be happy if, let's say, one, you have a person next to you in your life, or two, if you're making a certain amount of money, or let's say if you have kids, or let's say your kids live with you and close to you forever, which is absolutely insane. And the list goes on and on and on. And generally, people who have too many expectations of others, of their partners, of their parents, of life, and so on, are pretty sad people. Why? Because they're not aware that only they can meet their own expectations. And if you want another person to join you, well, for that you need to find a way to inspire them, to excite them, to show them how, to lead them to it, to teach them. But all of that, it starts and comes back again to you and your essence, and having that awareness and being connected and rooted in that. And this process also asks of us to cultivate patience. I'm sure you probably know the saying, patience is a virtue. And this doesn't mean waiting, but learning to adapt to the changes and always keeping the hope within. And to give you a few more examples here, let's say this a lot of times plays out in relationships. Let's say 10 years have gone by and your partner has gained a lot of weight. Placing a demand or an expectation on them to lose the weight is most likely going to make them feel rejected and unloved, rather than taking things in their own hands and to feel motivated to move and to do something about it. So instead, you find a way to engage them, spice up dates, invite them to dance, and focus on what makes you personally feel sexy, what makes you feel inspired to stay in shape and to feel attractive. And do this first for your own self, because inspiration is almost like an invitation to play. Like, I'm really enjoying this and I want to create more of it, but now I really want to do this together. And yes, it is important to know that sometimes people do recognize this invitation a little bit too late, and unfortunately then you may need to leave them, but you gotta do what you gotta do. Especially if you don't see any willingness on their end. Eventually you do need to decide how important that is for you And always place again the focus not on fixing but rather on playing. And look for a person that is willing to play with you, because in my opinion, two people that come to learn to play with each other and inspire each other or uplift one another, especially from the setbacks of life, can really build a very strong and unshakable relationship. Instead of silently keeping expectations and waiting for the other to change, while you just simply build more resentment in the process. Or let's say another example, your partner suddenly wants you to get a job to help them pay the bills, when this was not the case prior in your relationship. So sitting on your back and waiting for them and nagging them about it, it won't be very motivating or helpful, but it could feel quite demanding and forceful. And instead, what you can do is inspire your partner to collaborate together, maybe work on a project together, or create some sort of a vision that you're both very passionate about, that inspires you both to find alternative means to generate more money, even if that includes you, let's say, getting a job in the meantime. My point is, without a vision that inspires you, it is very difficult to get activated. So when you see your partner struggling with something in their life, whether that is their weight or money or family problems, don't wait for them to change it. Join them, support them in the act of change itself, even if it causes you personal discomfort. At the end of the day, love has nothing to do with comfort. Don't wait before it happens, allowing for that resentment to build and to grow in time, because that is the most actually loving thing that you can do for each other, to create a joint effort. And this is a true sign of patience and attention, commitment, and love. Because sometimes it happens that we expect, when we prioritize our own personal comfort first, and love is just going to live on its own, but instead it ends up going haywire. All in all, everything is possible when we are in a state of inspiration, driven by a mission, aligned to our identity and true sense of self. And in relationships, that needs to be shared. Otherwise, your expectations and lack of abilities you can identify with will slowly begin to take over and ruin everything much faster than you think. Of course, I want to make this clear. A prerequisite to make this work is greatly affected by self-awareness and who each person is, where they're going, and what role they're serving in life. Tough questions, you bet. And this game of individuation really starts by mutually being interested and invested in the mirror in front of you, and continuously working with one another to bring out the vision, or to have a shared vision of life. Now, speaking about lack of identity, but also having the courage to build on, we're going to move into the story portion of this video, which is about Saturn transiting in Aries, which already entered in May, and this past May, and will soon station retrograde, making us question and look even deeper into the question of who am I, and what is my vision, and what changes I need to make, but also what support I need to make it happen. Because the reality is, we need to work towards living out our visions, but we don't live in a world all alone. Of course, we interact with others. So it is equally important being surrounded by the people who also believe in you, who also invest in you, the people who support you and are patient with you. But what Saturn in Aries, which transits for about 2.5 to 3 years, it goes through some area of your life, and it's there to teach you in that area the most important lesson of patience. Patiently working towards constructing your identity. Not to act impulsively, not to be reckless or demanding. But it points to the lessons you're really here to learn, and to truly understand who you are and be asked to make firm decisions to commit to, and have the courage to act on them, even when you don't feel comfortable, or you will really get stuck, and you will recognize this in analysis paralysis. Like your mind is really not going to able to give you the answers unless you try. But also to learn to be very patient with yourself first and then with others, because you have the experience of the reality of that situation, while letting go of the expectations for approval and the need for validation and the opinions of others, focusing, expecting more of you by working towards what you want to build. And for everyone, that will look differently depending on where you have Aries in your natal chart. So let's take a quick look what you need to focus on and pay attention to during this transit for the next 2.5 to 3 years. For example, if you have Aries in your ascendant or first house, this would pertain to your life in general as a whole, where you and only you can now and need to take charge of your own life, the direction you want to move into, and where you see yourself grow, and really let go of expectations of the world, of society, of your parents, and so on. What is your mission and what you should do? So what you do right now, you will see it take shape and form in about 2.5 years. And it's really important to not be impulsive and not make impatient decisions, but focus on finding ways to collaborate more, to be more understanding, more adaptable, and don't think you always know the right way. There is no such thing as the right way, and your own way may need to be very different from others. Let's say until now you thought making 100 grand a year will make you happy, and that's, the greatest accomplishment of your life, but something is now being taken away from you. So you start beginning to realize that this constant change for the top, while neglecting to appreciate the true connections or the small details of life, or always needing to be right, is now making you question and really making you reshape your whole approach to life as a whole. Now, if you have Aries in your second house, this would be about your money and self-worth, and you need to let go of expecting others to value you and pay you or give you what you think you deserve. Your lesson is to invest in yourself, and not only materially but also spiritually, to grow, to evolve, so in the next 3 years you can be more self-confident and find the balance between the spiritual and material world, and to really get the deserved pay for your input, for your return on investment that you put into yourself. After all, we invest in what we value. So how do you want to be valued when you neglect your physical or spiritual body? So you need to be patient with establishing balance between your physical needs but also spiritual essence. So finding the harmony within is important. So diving deeper on your core values is as needed as your material needs. If this is going through your third house, you need to let go of expecting others to help you grow your business or give you direction or meaning, and learn how to be a better communicator, more flexible and more adaptable. You need to open yourself to learn, to acquire new skills if needed. You need to focus on your own efforts and not be from this perspective of I know it all. So by learning, then you can proceed to teach what you have learned. Even if right now you might not see the people who are gonna hop on the wagon and understand you completely, or show excitement and interest first, but you need to innovate something of your own rather than copy and paste others' ideas. So don't expect to be told how you're going to do it. This is really important. You really need to learn to play with different ideas and be cautious of what you are speaking, but also thinking about, especially the things that you don't want to manifest in your life. Because right now in this period, what you're learning, what you're thinking, whatever you sow into your mind, even through your thoughts, will reap results later. So it's very easy to be pessimistic in your perception here if things are not working out. But the lesson is for you to find hope and lightness and really create more clarity and peace in your mind. In the fourth house, here you need to let go of your expectations about home, about someone emotionally attending to you, and learn how to emotionally self-soothe and regulate. You need to take responsibility of your own emotional needs and be your own governing authority. Let's say if you feel sad, scared, then you need to find ways to help you move through these emotions. You need to find different tools, like it could be painting, crafting, jumping, running, rather than rely on others to comfort you. For example, if you experience here a lot of emotional outbursts or impatience, they would point you and teach you that you need to be less selfish and explosive or impatient and practice more composure or stoicism. And it's also possible that you change your place of residency. Like if you're buying or selling a home, you also need to be patient and cultivate the patience with the process itself. Let's say if this transit is going through your fifth house, then you need to be patient in love or with your children or with your creative projects or things that you want to start. You need to be less forceful and pushy and demanding and more accepting. If you want to get, let's say, pregnant, also do not rush it, but be patient in the process. Another thing is dating for long term is advisable and not short-term flings. So you need to be more responsible in love and what you want to create rather than start and leave and have these just sudden moments of outbursts. In the sixth house, it's about your health and to be patient with your health and daily routine and habits, but also at your work. And here you really need to watch out not to hurt your head or overstimulate your eyes. So it's important to really cultivate mind relaxing techniques that can help you stay more focused and balanced. And again, this is not a prediction because no one can predict anything, but simply a tool I'm giving you for awareness. At the end of the day, you can be guided, but it all depends on the choices you also make and whether they're aligned with the inevitable transit and changes of life or against them, or you resist them. Because when we resist the difficulties, and so then the pain persists longer. But when we accept the difficulties and we are willing to learn, then we can start to evolve from them one step at a time. When it moves through your seventh house, it's about your relationships and partnerships. So you need to be patient in your closest relationships. Being impulsive or rushing to get your own way or burning bridges without talking through things first can cause a collapse in your relationships. You need to learn to restructure and change your approach in relationships if you want them to be stable. So for that, you would need to, let's say, initiate conversations, seek for clarity, or find new ways to communicate and interact with others. But also here you can set boundaries if you feel like it's necessary, because you want to be accounted for your own needs, but you also need to speak and verbalize and hear the needs of others. And only then, if you don't find any consensus, you know things are fully meant to fall apart and you were not rushing it. But again, not from a pace of lighting up the match and tossing everything down the drain because you don't have the patience to deal with anyone's differences. In the eighth house, it's about intimacy, sex, using the resources of other people. And here you will need to be patient and refrain from engaging in short-lived one-night stands, always leaving you feel lonely and unsatisfied. Let's say generally you may be impulsive in your needs, especially sexually or in getting your way. But now you will have to be more patient and also take into the account another person's needs, not just chase the thrill of the moment. At the end of the day, intimacy, it's really about taking the time to see another person and take them as part of yourself. It is not a marathon to sprint through, but a byproduct of creation, of presence that you build together with the other person. It is about depth and not breadth. Or a better way to put it, it is about connection and not just physical masturbation. In the ninth house, here you need to be patient in regards to your beliefs and what is truly meaningful in your life. If you're traveling, try to combine your travel with some kind of purpose or a teaching reason. You need to build your meaning and restructure your beliefs so that you create a life in purpose. And this doesn't happen just by sitting and waiting or wandering around, but by really setting goals and working towards them day in and day out. Even when you don't know how they will play out, you need to believe and focus on acting towards those visions and goals before the results start showing up, or even before help appears on the way. And here you can experience hearing a lot of no's and almost like the sense of I want to give up, but really this is just the test of the universe to see where you really believe in yourself, being the creator and rebuilding your own life. In the 10th house, here it is about you respecting yourself, solidifying your post in society, in your career. You need to learn that as a leader, someone who is respected enough to be in charge, whether that is in the office or in your marriage, you need to have patience with the people that you are in charge of, the people that you are leading, the people that you are being responsible for. Not to rush them or shower them with your demands, but rather embody being an inspirational force of change and courage. And this is true especially if you're leading people in less fortunate positions or those who need help. You need to teach them by your own example. So here, self-responsibility and self-respect are really important, but also being patient with yourself to begin with, as you are reinventing your role as the one who is in charge. Because you might not always know the how, but also not giving up on finding a way to really make it happen. So you need to be patient with this example that you're setting. In the 11th house, here it is about your goals, your dreams, your visions, but also your individuality and what is your role in the community or your friend circle. So you will need to be patient with others. If suddenly, let's say, you decide you want to change your goals and direction in life, or now you guys want to communicate in a different way, instead of using text message, you want to use Telegram, or you have decided to change something about your sexuality. As people may not accept you at first, or the group may need time to adapt and adjust to you. Yet your lesson here is not to hide yourself, but be patient with how you come across and still be true to your unique being and vision of yourself. Because we are not here to modify according to the group, but connect with those who accept us for our own individuality. Now in the 12th house, here you would need to be patient with your faith in life and in yourself as the creator, because sometimes you may feel psychologically discouraged in life, like unless you have seen something yourself already being created, you may doubt or even fear new possibilities and new ways of creating and building something. So your faith will be tested, and you would need to be patient that if you truly want to create something, you need to look for the hope and inspiration to create it first, starting with you. Not through others or through escapism, let's say like drugs. And even if you dream or meditate, clarity may take time to unfold. So you need to be patient and trust that all the answers already live within you, and you're here to see them, to awake to them. When you remove the mistrust, the fear, anxieties, the need for certainty. Because Saturn is a tough teacher, but it teaches us about the most important lesson: life on Earth, and not when we incarnate in the 10th dimension, which has no use and purpose for us right now. So its function and the function of this transit is to ground us and really focus on who we are today, who we are born to be here in this lifetime. Fundamental questions, both to our happiness and also our relationships. Because as long as we still feel confused about our own reality and truth of self, and not the planets themselves, but the energetic transits which we are impacted by, in physical form, we will look like experiencing some kind of destruction or immense difficulty in that area of our life that it's moving through, until we awaken and begin to realize that our expectations are simply a result of our fears, because we still need to learn that we can't control life and others, but only our perceptions of our own experience. And happiness, it means letting go of our preoccupation with others, whether they like us or not, whether they approve or validate us, because this has nothing to do with us, but only their own projections and perceptions of life and reality. So when we choose something coming from a place of courage and the drive to give, to lead, to be, regardless of whether it is right or wrong by others, as long as that choice is not impacted by our need for validation or approval from friends, family, society, and so on, then we know we are truly able to receive the answer to the question, who am I? I would love to hear from you in the comments below where you're experiencing this shift in your own personal life, and what do you think your personal lesson is. I will see you guys next time. Bye bye.